to Living Ardently. I'm your host, Adrian Giraldi, and we are back with another episode. First of all, I want to shout out Paradigm for these awesome shirts, the both and. Go check them out. If you haven't read Bishop Barron's Vibrant Paradoxes, go check it out. Really great book, which is the inspiration behind this design. Basically, we are both and church. Go read it up. Go get yourself one if you haven't already. Today's guest is an awesome guest. He's a friend of mine. We went to college together, and he's actually going to be the first of a kind here on the podcast. So we'll get into introducing him in just a second. So let's get into it. So today's guest is a fellow Ave Grad, another one, and guess what? He is the first priest on the show. Really exciting. He's been a priest for just over a year now. And recently, he got locked out of his house. Actually, it was this morning. He got locked out of his house. So welcome, my friend. He's actually also marrying us, by the way. Back in next year, he'll be our priest. So welcome, my friend, my guest, Father Kyle Eads.
Thanks, Adrian. Good to be here. Good to see you.
Good to have you. We were just talking beforehand saying that we actually only see each other like at least once a year. And if we're lucky, we see each other twice. It's always usually at the March for Life.
This year was like 10 years long though, so feels like 10 years.
It feels so long ago. Honestly, do you have plans on going to the March for Life this year?
Oh, I'll be
there.
there.
Next year? You'll be there?
We might not have a group this year, but I'll see who's there.
That's awesome. I wish I could say the same. I don't think we're going to be able to make it. Nor would they let us. I don't know. We'll see. God's done crazier things. So as our first priest, you'll be the first priest to do any of the things that we do here on the show, which one of my favorite things to do with our guests to kind of loosen up the mood is to play a game of rapid fire questions. So are you ready for this?
I hope so.
I won't ask you something that you'll get in trouble for, I promise.
Oh, great.
Alrighty. All right. Talking or texting?
Talking.
Favorite day of the week?
Friday.
Nickname your parents used to call you?
Probably just Kai Kai.
Last song you downloaded?
Ooh,
or listened to, rather.
I listened to, gosh. Shoot, I don't know. I have a friend that's been listening to a lot of chill step music lately, and so once in a while,
which
send me some
step?
of those.
It's like dubstep, but like relaxed.
Kind of like the opposite of dubstep, yeah.
It's like lo-fi.
Yeah, kind of like in between.
Oh, interesting. I want to hear that. Favorite holiday?
Probably Thanksgiving.
Oh, really?
We're in a good time of the year right now.
Yeah, it's a good time. This is November 1st. Happy All Saints, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, while we're recording this, that is. So I don't know when this is going to release. Hopefully tomorrow, but we'll see. Okay, what is from a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
Probably a 10.
Nice.
No, probably
Fill
not.
in the blank. I would say 10. I don't know if everybody else would.
I haven't gotten in an accident since somebody crashed into me like 6 years ago. So
that's a big accomplishment. So. Well, not the accident, but not getting into an accident yourself. Invisibility or super strength?
Probably invisibility.
Fill in the blank. Taylor Swift is.
I was gonna say old.
Older than I thought. Old.
Last time I heard, she was like 19, and now she's 40. So I don't know.
Favorite season?
Here's Probably fall here in upstate New York.
Nice. Favorite junk food?
Probably those white cheddar Cheez-Its.
Ooh, good choice. Yeah, I love those. Cheez-Its in general, but like those are another level. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Definitely peanut butter pandemonium.
Oh, where's that from?
There's this kind of like chain of convenience stores up here called Stewart's that makes their own ice cream.
Oh,
nice. And I think it's only an upstate New York thing, but they have, 100 different flavors or something.
Yeah, makes sense.
Anything with peanut butter and chocolate and caramel.
I'm pretty much the same. Have you ever had Tillamook ice cream? My favorite is their peanut butter ice cream.
Mm.
Name a primate besides monkeys and apes.
A lemur?
Hey, that's what somebody else said. Because my mind goes orangutan. But two times I've asked somebody that, they said lemur, so it's interesting.
I don't even know if that counts, but
I think it does. I don't know. I'm gonna count it because I think I counted for the last person who said it. Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
No.
No?
I think I've given people permission to like call the cops if I wear socks with sandals.
Sourdough or wheat?
Wheat, I guess. I haven't had sourdough in forever. I forgot about sourdough.
Great. Forgot about sourdough. We name one of the 7 dwarfs.
Doc.
Hey, that's a good one. Favorite type of tea?
Does coffee count?
In an Elmo voice, tell me how you like your coffee.
Black.
That was great.
It's a random question.
I'm telling you, this list is endless. Endless randomness. Okay, Star Wars or Marvel?
Probably Marvel at this point.
Ooh, tell me why.
Star Wars is kind of a lost cause, I think, at this point.
How about Mandalorian?
Mandalorian's pretty good, yeah.
It's a Star Wars story, so I guess if you're packing the trilogies together versus like
I rewatched New Hope a few days ago, and I'm like, man, they're just not the same anymore.
There's a lot of people in my chat gonna be super mad about this. gonna get hate mail, Father Kyle. Giving presents or getting presents?
It's fun getting stuff, but it's also fun giving things. Probably giving things.
Giving, yeah.
Even though I'm terrible at it and don't usually know what people like.
I like it. I'm a both and kind of guy. You know? Oh shoot! I just punched my mic. Both
or I'm like 3 days late.
Yeah. Do you like the smell of gasoline?
Not particularly.
There's a lot of people who do. You'd be surprised. I hate it, but people are like, "Oh yeah, I love the smell of gasoline. It's the best smell ever." I'm like, "Who are you people?"
The smell of lumber is pretty nice. I was at Home Depot the other day.
Lumber is nice. Is your cologne made out of lumber? Sandalwood. Climb a mountain or jump from a plane?
Probably jump from a plane. I've always wanted to skydive.
Me too. Are you a dog person?
Oh yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Birds or dogs?
Dogs.
Still. Some people would choose birds. You never know.
Why would you get a bird when you can get a dog?
Would you rather be 6 foot tall or have all the hair in the world?
probably 6 foot tall. It's a lot of hair.
It's a lot of hair. All the hair in the world. The way the questions are framed. Milk chocolate or dark chocolate?
Dark chocolate.
Black beans or refried beans in your burrito?
Black beans.
Where are your grandparents from?
Rome, New York.
You're gonna say Italy. LA or New York?
New York.
Super Smash Brothers or Zelda? Sorry. Super Mario Brothers or Zelda?
Oh, Mario.
Super Smash now or Zelda?
It depends which Zelda, I guess.
Well, I guess let's go for the Nintendo Switch version. So if we're talking Nintendo Switch, Breath of the Wild versus
probably Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. That's a fun game. It's just so long. It's so challenging.
Yeah.
All right, last question, Father. This is a really important question I love to ask my guest. What is wind?
Air in motion in large quantities. That happens out of doors.
That is good. That was a good one. I interviewed Chanel Shaw like a couple months ago, and her answer was forceful air. And it was just like, and it was so good, so good. Oh boy, wow, wowie. So, Father, you're the first priest on our show. We're excited to have you. But where do you remember how we met?
Ooh.
I think I know my first like memories of you. I don't know when we first met per se. I think we kind of just knew each other from Ave. But my first memory is like us in an elevator in Sebastian dorm in Ave. We were going up, and there's a girl there. So I thought you guys were dating. I think there's another person there, and I was just like, I don't think we actually. I just seen you guys before in the Sebastian lobby. I think because that's where I lived my first year. And I think I remember doing small talk with you guys, and I think that's one of my first memories of you. But I don't remember when we were particularly like, hi, I'm Adrian. Hi, I'm Kyle.
I don't know. I feel like I probably saw you doing something really cool on stage at some point somewhere.
I think I was too timid my first year to do on stage. It really was. I was a very shy kid my first year, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know who that would have. I wonder if that was my friend Marissa, whose wedding I'm doing in a couple months.
I think her name was Marissa.
It could be her, because we hung out a lot. Sometimes
there's a group of you that would always hang up in Sebastian lobby. I remember.
Oh yeah. Well, she was dating another Kyle at the time.
Oh really?
And the three of us would hang out. Yeah, I think with David and Courtney and.
I just remember seeing you guys there all the time. I was like, they're always there. I want a group like that. Yeah, I think that was my first time memory of you guys. But like I say to all my other guests, the point of having these testimonies episodes are just to kind of give, because I'm such a big believer in vulnerability. I believe that vulnerability is a way into anybody and everybody's hearts. And yeah, it doesn't come easy, but it's something that I feel like most of us desire, right? Is to share with each other parts of our lives that we feel like we can only share with a certain amount of people, you know? But I think that it's so important to share not everything, but some things, I mean, like especially your testimony with people. And because your testimony is so unique, you might sound like you might have a general base outline, but every testimony is very unique, and I think I'm a firm believer in that. And so that's what the opportunity for these episodes is to do just that. Get an opportunity to get to know the people who are on the show, and hopefully inspire you to share your testimony with others when you're given the opportunity, whether it's with your friends or strangers. Being vulnerable, like I said, is huge. It's hard,
Sure.
but it's huge.
Yeah.
So, Father, were you born and raised Catholic?
I was.
Yeah. What was your upbringing like? Were you raised in New York?
Yeah, upstate New York, and in the suburbs. I'm the oldest of 11 kids now.
Oh, wow.
My dad most of the time worked at home, so we were kind of always all together in the house. And we were parts of different homeschool groups along the way, and we played all kinds of sports, with the public school kids during the summers. And I was really involved with the Civil Air Patrol in high school, in middle school, which is kind of
what does that mean?
It's like a volunteer part of the Air Force that has like a cadet program for high schoolers and middle schoolers.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we got to wear cool uniforms and go fly around in planes and stuff like that.
So how old were you when you first got in the first plane?
Well, the first time I was in a plane was probably when I was 4 and we went to Disney World. And I started that when I was like 13.
Yeah. Right, I forgot about that. Yeah, people can fly planes before, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get to like co-pilot or something like that in that program?
Yeah, so they did these like orientation flights, they called, where we'd go up in these little Cessna 4-seater planes, and they'd teach us how to do different maneuvers and stuff, just kind of for fun, in case you wanted to get your pilot's license eventually.
That's so cool.
But then we met at this Air Force base each week, and once in a while we'd get to go up in like the C-130s.
Yeah.
Like those big cargo planes that go down to Antarctica or over to Afghanistan.
Wow. That's awesome.
So that was pretty cool.
Did you have any fears when you were going into that? Like in the plane at a young age like that? Like were part of the program? Were they really cool about it?
No, it was just kind of fun. I don't know. I always wanted to try like skydiving or something like that eventually.
That makes sense. Yeah,
we stayed inside the plane.
No jumping out. I have some friends that who do that now for like, a living. So that's like their everyday thing, but not necessarily like training them, but like, flying and then paratrooping, like where they jump out and have to fly down. Terrifying. Like it sounds like a great idea, but then at the same time, in the same breath, it doesn't sound like a great idea. Skydiving.
Yeah.
Wow. So being an oldest of 11, did you have to like act as a second dad at all ever? Did you ever feel that way?
Not really. I had younger siblings that also liked to be in charge of people younger than them, so I kind of let them boss the little kids around, and then once in a while I'd come in and try to like be the mediator, I feel like that's how it went most of the time.
Yeah. It's pretty big. What's the age gap between you and the youngest?
24 years.
Wow. That's crazy.
24 and a half. Yeah.
That's awesome. Not for everybody, but that's awesome. Like I had there's a 12-year gap between me and my sister, and there's only 2 of us within our family. We have 3 older half siblings, but the other half siblings, so you don't really like think about like the gap there,
Yeah.
But it's like thinking of being in a household with 10 other siblings. Or I guess, how old were you when you went to college? How many did you have when you went to college?
I don't know. Maybe there were 8 of us when I went to college.
Okay.
Something like that.
So 3 more. Joe came in.
So 3 of us have moved out of the house, and there's 8 kids at home. One of them's in college, but the college is right across the street, so she just lives at home.
Right. Lizzie.
Yep.
Wow. That's intense. That's awesome though. So what was your favorite thing about living with a big family?
It's just a lot of fun. Like, we have a lot of parties. I feel like every time I go home to visit, there's at least one day where we invite a couple other families over for dinner, and there's like 30 people in the house, you know.
Is your parents' like families big too?
No, my dad has 1 brother, and
really?
my mom has 2 brothers.
Oh, so you guys will be the generation of uncles and aunties.
So yeah, all the family reunions will be at their house.
Right. That's great. That's great. So in that time, like while you're growing up, and being an older brother and stuff, you guys were raised Catholic, like you said. Did you ever feel like? I feel like most of us did at some point, but maybe you didn't. Like you had to make your faith your own. It wasn't just your family's faith anymore. Do you recall a time in your like upbringing as to when like this is why I'm Catholic?
I'm not sure exactly. It's all kind of. I mean, it was kind of a smooth transition between home and going to Ave Maria, and where there's mass 3 times a day across the street.
Right.
And your professors aren't like forcing Marxist ideology on you or anything.
Right.
So,
did you go straight to Ave, or did you go community college too, like Katie?
I went right to Ave. So
wait, did Katie do a community college, or was it a different college she went to?
Yeah, she was at community college for 2 years.
For 2 years. So you went straight to Ave. Okay. That's awesome. Yep. For those of you who have been listening since the beginning, I actually interviewed Father Kyle's brother-in-law, George, and towards the end of the first season last year. And yeah, he and his wife Katie have a beautiful baby boy. And I think he made a little appearance on the podcast, audio-wise, because we weren't recording videos yet at the time. But nice. It was a lot of fun. So,
was the video sponsored by Target?
Right? Yeah, they're Targetholics. That's
right. I think they went there for their anniversary. Yeah.
I think I saw that too. I always wonder, have they filled in those like pictures that are on their wall that still have the stock images in it? I still wonder about that time. So that's cool. Yeah, I grew up in a family that was pretty. I mean, like I said, like we're pretty like culturally Catholic, and so that really didn't mean a lot of like big devotions or like personalism. It was just because you were told to do so. So for me, it took a while to like realize, this is why I'm Catholic. And I know for some people it was just a smooth transition like yours, and that's really cool, and be able to have that. And that's a goal of mine as a parent, to be able to do for my kids in the future.
Sure.
It's not something that I'm forcing upon them, but it's also something that they want to be part of,
I think it makes a big difference just having parents that both cared about going to church,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of people, it's like maybe just their mom who goes to church, and then I think people get an idea that they're like, oh, if it wasn't that important to my dad, then maybe it's just something for women, or moms. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that, I did a research paper and realized, showing how important the excuse me, how important the dad's role is in raising the kids in the faith. Like, I think the numbers of kids that stay Catholic or stay Christian for what, if they have a 2-family household that both parents go to church, those kids are, I think, like at a 70-some%, no, 80-some%, like they'll stay Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And then if a single parent and it's a mom, it drops down to like 30 or 40 or something like that percent. So don't quote me on these. Are just rough estimates from what I remember. You can probably Google it and find it. And I think it probably is not that drastic of a difference. But the father, a single parent household who's consistently going to church, as a father, it's like almost like just under a 2-parent household, or it stays almost the same number, percentage rather. So it's pretty interesting to see how impactful good fatherhood especially can be when it comes to retaining, kids who want to stay Christian for the most part.
Yeah.
Do you see that in your parish now as a priest, with families and stuff?
Yeah, there's a number of families that come, that both parents come and bring the kids. I don't know. It's hard to tell now because there's a lot of people that have just stopped coming.
Yeah.
Like we used to have 1,000 people on the weekend, and now it's more like maybe 150. So,
really? Of all the masses?
We used to have 4 masses, and each was like maybe 250. And then now we have 2, and we get 70 or 80 at each one.
Interesting.
So,
are you guys the only parish locally, or is there a couple more in the area?
No, there's like 7 or 8 other churches in the city of Albany.
Oh, okay.
So
it's interesting because we're a small town, and we have like 2 churches here, so they could go to either or, if they really wanted to. They could be registered at one, but go to the other one more because we're pretty close. And then the other ones are like 30, 40 minutes away, so they wouldn't go to those, or maybe they would if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
But it's just really interesting to see how things change after COVID.
Right. There's a lot of people up here, at least, that are still like afraid that they're going to get sick, or they'll get other people sick, or some people, it might just be that there's no obligation to go at the moment, so they watch the live stream or something. Yeah,
right. So it's probably been an interesting first year as a priest, huh?
For sure.
For sure. So we're gonna take a break right here, and we're gonna get into Father's vocation story and what he's learned as a priest, in his first year of a priesthood, what he's learned in his priesthood, and we'll be right back after this. So we're back more with Father Kyle again, our first priest ever on the podcast. Really exciting stuff to have him here. And he's also the priest that's going to be marrying me and my fiance later next year. So that's super cool. But Father, with you being the first priest, we couldn't go without talking about your vocation story. So you mind giving us a little bit of insight on that?
So, I guess, I don't know. I guess when I was a little kid, and I realized, people made different amounts of money for different kinds of jobs, I was like, well, why don't you just pick the job that makes the most money? That seems to make the most sense.
Right.
And so that was my thinking for a little bit. And then you realize that some jobs, are more, fulfilling and less depressing than other jobs.
Right.
And then as a kid, I remember our parish priest talking about vocations and saying that there was a survey, maybe it was done by Forbes or something, about different jobs and how happy people were in their jobs. And I remember him saying that like clergy and pastors and people like that were at the top of this list of people that were happy about their jobs. You know, they're up there with like firefighters, and teachers and maybe nurses, you know, people like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, the pastor seems pretty happy. He's always smiling.
Right. He shakes my hand every weekend.
Doesn't seem so bad. And so I thought about that, you know, and eventually when I got into high school, and then every adult keeps pestering you all the time about what you're going to do with your life. And being a priest sounded like a pretty easy answer to get out of that conversation. And I think there was a point when I told my mom I either was thinking about being a fighter pilot or a priest, and she's like, well, you're not allowed to be a fighter pilot. I'm like, fine. So yeah, and then I applied to Ave, and they had this like pre-theology program there at the time. And so I talked to this priest before I got there, and he's like, okay, so you'll live on this floor, and we say morning prayer together every day, and have all these meetings and things that you'd go to and stuff, and sort of like a beginning seminary thing. And then I got to Ave, and it was like, oh, surprise, that priest got assigned to like a parish in Miami, and we actually don't have the program anymore. And
I was like, wow, I didn't know we had that.
So I was like, great, I guess I'm just kind of gonna float around here for 4 years before I can do anything else about this.
They couldn't like transfer you since you like were gonna do that already, or is that something you wanted to do?
I don't know. I didn't really know what was involved with that, I guess. I think I asked around back in my diocese about seminary and stuff, and they're like, just go to college and then catch up with us later, and we'll talk again when you're older. So I was like, all right.
Wow.
And then I was like,
why there's a lack of priests.
Well, at the time, it seemed like all the guys getting ordained in our diocese were in their like 30s and 40s, and were already kind of settled down and figured out, they did something else for like 10 years and then didn't like it and decided to become a priest. But so I guess after that I was like, well, guess I'm here for 4 years, and there's all these nice women studying here. And so I ended up dating this nice girl for a couple of years, and we were very pious. You know, we'd go to mass together every day, and we'd say morning prayer and evening prayer and things like that.
Yeah.
And go on the rosary walk and all that good stuff. And I kind of eventually just felt all like conflicted all the time, not really knowing what I was supposed to do with my life, because I was like, it seemed like everything in my life was building up to this being a priest idea, and now I don't feel like I want to do anything about that. And so I was meeting with this priest there, and he was like, well, yeah, you know, you can discern being a priest and being married, you know, together, and just pick one, I guess. And I was like, I keep trying and it's not working. It still doesn't make any sense. And eventually we just had to kind of break it off, and I was like, I gotta go figure out this seminary thing, or I'm just gonna be wondering and conflicted the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so then I talked to the vocation director in my diocese, and he was, he seemed, he was, I don't know, he said things sounded good, I guess, and that they accepted me, and he's like, yeah, so, Ave seems like a pretty good school, so just, go back there for another year, and we'll just count that as philosophy, pre-theology seminary, sort of.
Oh, wow.
So my senior year of being at Ave, I was like technically a seminarian for my diocese back home. And just kind of without a program or anything like that.
Yeah.
But so that was cool. I got to, major in Greek and live with a bunch of my friends in a suite and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And probably served mass like 6 days a week at the oratory. And then I graduated from there and went to major seminary for 4 years. And each summer they would have me spend like 10 weeks in a parish, following some pastor around and figuring out what they do.
Pastoral things.
Doing pastoral things. And then I ended up here.
That's awesome. And all the while your family moved down to Florida.
Yeah, so I went to Florida for 4 years and then moved back here for a year, and then they moved to Florida.
Like, all right, good to see you. Bye. I'll I guess in intent to get all of them through Ave, I suppose, huh?
Well, there's a lot of good reasons to move there. I mean, there was no income tax.
Right.
If you live at home, you don't have to pay
Dorm.
10 grand a year or whatever for room and board.
Goodness. College is expensive.
So, yeah. I was surprised when I heard up here, the private schools kids go to around here are like what I paid for college.
Really?
For high school.
Wow.
I'm like, what are you going to pay for college afterwards?
Where's that money going to go? Do you get that back?
I mean, I guess most families up here only have like one or maybe two kids. And most of the people in my parish are like lawyers and doctors and nurses and things like that.
Wealthy parish.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. So, in that time of discernment, did you have any doubts? I mean, I guess you did. Like you were conflicted, like you said. Was there like any moment where you actually thought that you wouldn't be a priest?
Yeah, probably like every day of seminary.
Every day of seminary. It's like I can't do it.
I mean. I mean, when I got there, I was like, all right, God, like I'm going to stay here unless I get some like huge glaring red flag that I'm not supposed to be here. So yeah, if you don't want me to be here, you got to like throw me out or something. Because I'm not going to just like vacillate between dating and discerning or whatever my whole life.
Yeah.
And I never got kicked out or anything. Oh, it's like you're being like hyper scrutinized all the time.
Yeah.
Like all the faculty are always, closely watching every little thing you do and writing evaluations on you and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And then you're like evaluating your fellow classmates constantly and yourself. Really? And then once in a while, like a guy decides to leave or is told to leave and they don't want to talk about it, so you don't know why they're gone.
So you can't discern what, like.
So you're just like, yeah, I'm probably gonna get thrown out. I don't know why. But
What do you think that is the most challenging part of that seminary process for you?
I don't know. It just kind of, I mean, you kind of feel like you're under a microscope like all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, because they want to make sure you're like a normal human being and you're not, like a sociopath or something.
Yeah. I mean, fair.
Yeah, I mean, because you can get away with all kinds of stuff once you're a priest, and they want to make sure you don't make it that far if you're not supposed to.
I mean, there's some crazy things that some, priests that, work their butts off to get. Like there was that one thing that recently happened in New Orleans? Did you hear about that one?
No.
In any case, this priest was caught with two women on the altar. And they were there to one of those ladies tweeted over here about to defile a house of God. They're on my way to New Orleans. Some not New Orleans in general, but just out of the in the boonies over in New Orleans.
I've heard of New Orleans and Baton Rouge. I think that's all I know about Louisiana.
Right? Yeah, it's somewhere in the very discreet areas. But a parishioner saw the lights on late at night, and that's how they got caught. He went to go make sure everything was okay, and was not okay. But I was just in the thought process, man, there are some people I know that have been working their butts off and trying to become a priest or get into the seminary, and then they get denied. While there's priests like this that somehow slip through the cracks, and it's just so sad,
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna, you don't totally change when you get ordained. I mean, you're gonna take whatever, skills or temptations or weaknesses or whatever into being ordained that you had before.
Yeah.
So
it's real interesting, It's I guess then I feel like there's a tendency to think that though, with lay people, that priests have to have it all together. Even bishops have to have it all together, which you would want your leaders to be good and to do well in certain situations, but the fact the matter remains that priests, bishops, deacons, the Pope, we're all human, right?
Yeah, I mean, eventually some things are up to the individual guy, to, be open with his spiritual director and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually when you get ordained, no one's going to be checking on you to make sure you talk to your spiritual director or that you're, taking care of yourself or you kind of have to just be responsible and, an adult at some point.
Yeah. It's all of us, right? There's different in a somewhat similar way, probably not in the most similar way, but as kids, we're told to, our parents are there to kind of tell us what we should and should not do in certain situations, how to do our chores, things like that, so that when we move into our own or have our own family, we're able to do that and take care of our homes and our, keep things tidy. But it's up to the person to kind of take those lessons in and to act upon it. If we just don't listen to the advice that are given to us, if we don't, or we don't budget, we don't be prudent with our money, we'll go in debt,
Mm-hmm.
we, our parents are there, our friends are there to kind of help us. And if we don't, it can be dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, we gotta look out for our brother priests and stuff and check up on each other. Because once in a while a bishop would come talk at the seminary or give a retreat or something, and I remember one of them mentioning some priest that went down in flames one way or another, and he's where were all the other priests? Why was no one checking up on him?
It's it's a thing that we as Christians have to ought to have part, like part of us where we are always seeking the good, of the other out of love, right? However that looks. And sometimes, oftentimes I feel like we lose sight of what that looks like. Because mercy is, we talked about it in our last, mercy and loving it's hard. It's hard as humans. We think that we know it, and then we don't. we just can will never be able to love the same way and show mercy the same way that Christ does, and that's hard.
Yeah,
that's hard. So, in your time as a priest, what's been your biggest lesson that you've learned?
I don't know. Probably a lot of things. Well, things are a little weird now because, what was it, 2 months ago now? 2 months ago, my pastor got assigned to another parish, like half an hour from here. Oh, wow. So now it's just kind of me here, but I'm not the pastor. Just, you gotta keep up your prayer life, because that's kind of what you rely on to give you strength to deal with all the other stuff that you're gonna have to encounter throughout the day.
Yeah.
And it's just been a lot of growth, learning to bring things to God. Like we're all kind of tempted to run to a million different things besides God, trying to make ourselves happy, whether it's like buying stuff or binge watching things or or just dumping our emotions on somebody or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And but those things can't make us happy if we were created to have God satisfy these desires. And so sometimes you just have to kind of be honest with God in prayer and be like, I'm not having a great day and you need to do something about it. So here I am.
Yeah. I think that's so important to have that open honesty with the Lord, because once you're able to do that with Him, you're able to do that with yourself. That means you're able to contemplate okay, I am not doing well in this part of my life, and I'm not going to be able to fix this on my own. Now I need the Lord. I also need accountability. So maybe I need to get a friend involved, and that just kind of opens the door towards vulnerability being a norm. And I think, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, vulnerability is a way to be each other's hearts and to people's hearts in general. And so I always tell my teens, when you're starting to pray and you don't really know how to pray just yet, start with vulnerability. It's Lord, I have no idea what I'm doing and I need help. You might not get a deep voice from above telling you what to do all of a sudden, but being able to be there, presenting yourself in a humble way of saying Lord, I am frustrated. I don't know what to do. It's huge. Yeah.
And it might not be anything dramatic, but if nothing else, I think you'll end up feeling less upset or less anxious or whatever it might be, and you'll have a little bit more peace, and then you're more free then to love the people around you and yourself the way that you should, rather than feeling like you need people to make you feel better or to make you feel less bad about yourself, or
Yeah. Amen to that. So, and a couple more questions. And as your time as a priest, you've you've spent a lot of time in seminary, right? And again, you've spent more time in seminary still than you have been actual priest. So in your time, in those, let's say just the entire 5 years, 6 years, in the past 6 years, what is the most important lesson that God kind of taught you outside of whether it be a priesthood or in seminary to kind of prepare you for it?
I don't know. I guess I've kind of been blessed to just kind of be able to assume that God has a plan and that, you know, whatever happens, I'll be able to make it through. And he, you know, he loves when we are, you know, kind of surrendering ourselves to him. And because, you know, when we are, you know, when we're humble, you know, then he's able to, you know, take whatever mess we find ourselves in, you know, and take us out of there and make us into something beautiful, you know.
It starts with that trust, like you said. It's if we don't have that established trust in the Lord, it can be very difficult. I think, especially to get vulnerable. But
first you have to believe that God cares about you, right. And you kind of have to be able to look back on your life and find the places where God was there and where God made a difference in your life. And I think that's where faith comes from, is from looking back and realizing, like, okay, that's where God, you know, made a difference in my life and changed things, and that's why I want to belong to him.
True. Yeah, I think it's something that we all need to, improve in, whether you've been a Catholic or Christian for years and years, or someone who's new to the faith. It's something that is a constant, like, dying and rising, you know, in the circle of our constant, continual conversion, you know, in our faith. So I think that plays a big role in it. Huge role.
Okay. Yeah. This has been really interesting. Just you know, going from my own prayer to and my own experience of God's mercy, and going from there to, you know, talking to all kinds of random people in confession. It's just been really humbling and beautiful. And
it's something that, you know, we will never get to experience the way that you as a priest will, and that's an awesome thing. So with the last thing I want to ask, for those of the people who are discerning, married life, priesthood, whatever, what is the biggest piece of advice you can give them? You can give them several, actually, if you want to.
Several. Well, I heard, maybe it was from a Sikh conference or something. I heard part of a talk the other day from a sister who was talking about discerning the same kind of thing, and saying that, like, marriage is like a natural vocation, and so everyone should have, you know, some kind of desire in their heart to be married. And if you really have no desire for that, then, you know, that's something that maybe you need to pray about and maybe talk to somebody about, you know, and figure out why. Where, you know, being a priest or religious is like a supernatural vocation, and something that not everybody necessarily feels, you know. But if you don't feel called at all to be a priest or religious, like, you don't really need to freak out about that, because not everybody has that calling. Right. I guess practically it'd probably be a little less painful to try checking out seminary first and seeing how that goes before you get another person involved in your discernment process, you know.
And get hurt.
Yeah.
Good advice. That is actually really smart too.
I guess you could do it the other way, and you'd also know after that. I mean,
right.
It was helpful. It was helpful in seminary to already have the experience of dating and realizing like I already tried that, and the grass isn't necessarily any greener. Not necessarily.
Yeah. Not always.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's huge because we I mean, just thinking about how you said it, right? The before you get anybody else involved, you should maybe the most painful part is checking out seminary or checking out if you're a female and want to check out the religious life, contacting, researching the orders that you would like to be part of, the Dominicans or the Franciscans or whatever. There's so many of them. That have different beautiful charisms, So, I mean, you can even, if you wanted to be a priest, you could also be an order priest,
Yeah. I mean, I kind of looked at some religious orders as like, oh man, you'd have to deal with all those people every day, that you live with. But then I know other people that are like, oh man, I need to be surrounded by a community of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it would be you definitely have to look that up before you can't go in thinking that, not knowing that for sure, especially if you're an introvert.
Yeah.
So so if you're discerning, if you are wondering what to do with your vocation, if you've been trying and no avail, don't lose hope. There's Christ is still there. Christ is still working in your life, whether he calls you to the religious life or married life, it's gonna happen. Just gotta let him work. And yeah, sometimes it takes longer for some people than others, but it's okay.
There's different there's different senses of the word vocation.
Yeah.
We all have the same vocation to holiness, to become saints, And how you get there isn't necessarily as important as just getting there.
Right.
And a part of that is, God also wants you to be happy. He doesn't call us to be miserable,
So wherever you're happy, wherever God calls you to, follow it,
Yeah.
And if you've been happy and wanting to be around, loving being around religious in any type, so if you're a female and love being around sisters and this and that, then why not try it out? I don't know the process, obviously. Are you familiar with the process?
Well, at least with a diocese, like being a priest, you figure out who the diocese vocation director is, but religious orders also have like somebody who's like the vocation director, and they usually have people spend a year or two as like a postulant, which is when you're still postulating about whether or not to join. You're kind of like on probation or something.
Yeah.
And then after that you take I think you take like simple, I forget if it's called like simple vows, but you're a novice after that for a year or two. Maybe it's like you took vows for a year or two or something like that. And then you usually get professed afterwards, where you take vows for like 3 or 5 years or something like that. And then you can still change your mind again after a few years of that before you take, like your permanent vows or solemn vows or whatever it is.
Yeah. So look into it if you're wondering. Highly recommend this. Like this be your encouragement to go check it out, to seek it out. Seek out your vocations director. go research it up for 30 minutes, what it's like, what religious life would be like for the order that you want to be part of, if you're a lady, or if you're a guy wanting to be a religious priest, an order priest. Go for it, try it out, see how it's like. And if you want any further advice,
I'm sorry. There's all kinds of orders. There's like orders that take care of the elderly or the sick, or there's some that like their whole mission is to like put teenagers like in front of the Eucharist and adoration. Some that are teachers. I worked for a little bit with these Dominican sisters that had like a hospice place.
Oh, cool.
That everybody there was like dying from cancer, basically.
Oh,
and
wow.
Like these nuns, like their full-time job was just kind of like hang out and play cards with people and eat cake and sing songs and like make them feel comfortable, So there's all kinds of different beautiful things people do.
Yeah. So go check those out. It's definitely something that you can check out without any risk. There's no... I was about to say no risk, no reward, but there is no risk in researching and making a phone call. So I recommend, if you're interested or have been discerning it for a while, just do it. Just try it out. Just do a little bit of more research. Make a phone call. Talk to your vocations director. And again, approach it with honesty. Like, I don't know if I'm called, or even go into prayer. Obviously start there. Start with your, with your identity of knowing that Christ, you're a beloved son and daughter of Christ. That that you can tell him anything. And once you're there, you don't have to be there before you go, but like obviously, it's a good place to start is prayer. And then doing your own research, action. So, any other attachment advice?
God kind of moves us towards our vocation, I think, through our whole life, so it's good to look back on, growing up and the kind of things you're interested in, or the people, said about you or saw in you, or the kind of things, your friends or family could see you doing, or, if some random guy comes up to you in church and says you should be a priest, that might just mean you're the only guy who's been in church under 50 years old.
I've heard that several times in my life, and here I am, engaged. So I'm either defiant or it wasn't my call. One or the other.
It's funny the number of priests that like have stories about like, oh, I used to have this beautiful car that I bought because I was definitely not going to be a priest. And then I sold it and I went to seminary,
That's hilarious. That is so good. Awesome. So if you have any further questions about discerning and stuff like that, you can contact myself at Living Ardently's account. You should send us a DM, or you can send me a personal DM at It's Only Adrian. But you can also contact Father Kyle, or he's over there, if you would like to talk about vocations further with him, especially in priesthood. Particularly, you can send him a DM. You can see his Instagram handle down there somewhere. It's at is it still Greek major?
Probably. I'm not sure. But probably.
I think so. I think it is. Let me check for you. Go to @Greek major on Instagram, and you'll see Father Kyle's page, and you can send him a DM if you would like to know more about the priesthood and ask him further questions about it. So don't be afraid. Let us know. Contact us. You guys have been sending us DMs and chatting it up, and I appreciate you guys chatting with me and chatting with us, and the guests. The guests have said that you guys reached out to them too. So thanks for continuing the dialogue. I really want this the podcast to be all inclusive. Like, you're all here with us listening, and we want to continue the conversation out of these recordings and into the real world. So We appreciate you guys contacting us. Again, don't be afraid. If you don't have social media, you just want to contact us through email, you can send me an email at livingardentlypod@gmail.com. And if I get Father Kyle's email, I'll put it in the show notes. Any last things, Father?
Well, I guess just be a saint and say your prayers.
Be a saint, say your prayers.
God
Simple
loves
as
you.
that. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you follow and whatever. If you're listening anywhere else, subscribe and rate and review us over on Apple Podcasts. It helps us a lot get the podcast out to more people, so we can help the message of the Lord get spread. So thanks so much for listening, y'all. God bless you all. And we got a few more episodes, and I'm going to take a hiatus for the rest of the year. I think we're going to finish off November. And then, like I do every year, I take a little break at the end of the year to kind of not worry about the podcast, and I can worry about other things like work. And my
You writing a book or something?
Taking dissertation, writing a dissertation. No, I'm not. I'm not doing any schoolwork or writing a book. I just need a break. Quite honest with you guys. Just for 4 weeks. We'll come back at the beginning of New Year's 2021. Maybe we won't have to wear a mask anymore. Yeah. Thanks, Father Kyle, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
The first inaugural priest on our podcast. Thanks, man. See you soon, and see you all next time. And until next week, keep living ardently. Peace.